All right, folks, today we're going to talk about off-road recovery from the perspective of an amateur. That amateur would be moi. We had a successful recovery yesterday. However, there were some problems. There were some things we did wrong. And I want to talk about that, and just so y'all can benefit from that. And also, my goal is not to disparage anyone, including myself, but hopefully we can learn from the experience. So what happened was I was traveling with my friend Kenny. Kenny drives a Honda Element. It's an eCamper, and the eCamper is the one that's got the conversion. It's not a rooftop tent, but it's like they convert it to a pop-up, cut a hole in the ceiling, put a pop-up on it. It's a really cool camper, and he's got it outfitted really nicely. And we came to Anza-Borrego in Southern California, east of San Diego. Beautiful park. That's where we are right now. I love this place. It's really nice. There's dispersed camping everywhere. And Kenny and I met in town, and just so happened that the 24-hour World Championship bike race was happening, and you can race for 12 hours or 24 hours, and then the following day they did the 6-hour. But anyway, we met there, and I was trying to figure out something to do, so we decided to go to a place called Fonts Point, and from there's these incredible views, and it's a 4-mile dirt road. So we left Borrego Springs, and we drove up the road, 7-8 miles, and then we turned right on Fonts Point Road, which is a dirt road. It's a little sandy, washboardy, but it's kind of any all-wheel drive car can make it for sure. You don't need a lot of clearance, and maybe even a 2-wheel drive. I want to talk about some of the mistakes we made so that y'all will benefit from that. We left town, we gassed up, we got some food. That was good. You always want to gas up before you head onto the backcountry. Make sure you got a full tank. Kenny was about a half tank, so I told him be sure to gas up. We did that, went to the store, got a couple supplies, made sure we had enough water, and we headed up the road. The first mistake that we made was that, Kenny carries walkie-talkies, and we've used the walkie-talkies when I've gone off-road with him before. We just distribute the walkie-talkies, turn them on, get it working, then we just talk to each other on the road, and we keep in touch. It was getting towards sunset, and we wanted to get up there, and we were both, I think, in a bit of a hurry, so we didn't distribute the walkie-talkies, and that was mistake number one. And then we started heading up the road, and I'm leading, and I'm looking in the mirrors, and I see Kenny there. And we've done a lot of off-roading in the past, and Kenny tends to be a little bit slower than me, and also he likes to be a little bit back, I think, so he doesn't suck a lot of dust. And so he was drifting back a bit, and I saw him back there, and then I noticed a point where he was no longer visible, and that would have been a good time for me to just stop and wait. So that was kind of mistake number two. I did not stop. I guess I figured it was only a 4-mile road, and it was not necessary to stop and wait because I could just go to the end, and it wasn't that long. As if we're doing 30 miles or something, of course I'm going to stop. So I just kept going, and then unbeknownst to me, well, let me just back up. I was looking in my mirrors, and there was a couple places, the road twists so you don't have a real long view back, but I'd slow down a little bit. I'd look in the mirror, and I didn't see him, but I'm like, he's just drifting back. Everything's fine. So I keep going, and then behind me, I don't realize what's going on, but what happened to Kenny was he was driving along, heard a loud engine noise, and then some rumbling and some weird stuff, and then he stopped and looked under the hood and realized that his serpentine belt had broken. So he no longer had cooling, no longer had alternator, and so he screwed up. And now mistake number two is that despite the fact that I hadn't stopped and waited for him, what he decided to do, which I think was a mistake, is that he decided, I've got a problem. Paul's not stopping. We don't have radios. I'm just going to boogie ahead. So he basically just floored it with no cooling. He did catch me. And I'm looking in the mirror, I see him coming up, and he's waving out the window. So I stopped and said, "What's up?" And he said, "My fan belt broke. I'm overheating." And I'm like, "Oh no," because of course you don't want to overheat your vehicle because so much damage can be done. So that was a mistake. He probably should have just stopped and waited for me. And what would have happened, I would have gone to the end of the road, realized, hey, Kenny's not coming, and then I would have turned around and got him. And that's probably what should have happened, but that's not what happened. So that was kind of a bad scene. So when he caught me, I realized, his engine is hissing and steaming, and he's overheating. And I'm like, oh my God, I hope he hasn't cracked a head or blown a head gasket or something. So we decide, my original goal was to try to camp out at Fonts Point. I didn't realize at the time that there was no camping allowed out there. So we're about a half mile from the end. So I decided, why don't I just tow you up there? It's evening, it's sunset. We'll camp up there, and in the morning we'll deal with this. So that's where the recovery stuff comes in, which I'm just going to show you right here. I'm an amateur in terms of recovery stuff, but I want to talk about the equipment we had. There's a bunch of stuff that didn't go well, but what did go well was the recovery because we kind of did things right. This is, I'm not going to do a video on recovery items because I just want to show you what we used. Obviously, you're probably aware of kinetic ropes where you use these stretchy ropes to yank someone out of a bad situation. I have one of those, but that's not what we use. This is a recovery strap, and this is intended more for just towing someone. And then I have two soft shackles. The funny thing is I just updated all my gear. I just bought a bunch of stuff so that I'm equipped to handle situations. I bought a small winch. I have a kinetic rope, soft shackles, some metal shackles, an extension winch rope, and everything. So I'm all set up. And I was debating buying this stuff because I was thinking I may never use it, because I'm not really into super radical stuff and doing recoveries all the time. But anyway, I figured it's good to have it in case I ever need it. And lo and behold, on the first outing after I bought this stuff, I ended up using it. So anyway, back to Kenny and I. So there we are. He caught up with me. His engine is hissing and steaming. I look at it and I think mistakenly that it just the serpentine belt was worn and broke and we just need to replace it and we can do that in the morning. That was the wrong diagnosis, and I'll go over that in a minute. In the meantime, I figured, why don't I just tow you up to the viewpoint? We'll check out the viewpoint and then we'll just camp up there and then we'll deal with this in the morning. I hook up his vehicle. I put a soft shackle on my hitch, and then I put the second soft shackle on his recovery point. He's got some hooks on the front of the element there on the chassis. They come that way. And then I hooked up this 30-foot, 3-inch recovery strap. That seems to be the right tool for the job.
This is a good thing to travel in partners.
You got one job, okay? Your job.
Don't crash into your bike.
Don't run over the rope. Okay?
Oh, okay.
Folks, when you're towing, like if there's a little downhill, and we're going to keep tension on the rope, but if Kenny starts going too fast, the rope's going to slack. He'll run over the rope and ruin the rope.
Got it.
The strap.
Okay.
So what you're going to do is feather the brakes. You just want to keep tension on it. But if you start running up on me, ease on the brakes.
Okay.
All right, folks. So we got Kenny in tow, and we're just working our way up to the fog point. It gets a little rough here, but I think we'll be okay.
And the reason I know that is because I watch recovery channels. There's 3 channels that I really like watching. One is Matt's Offroad Recovery, a great channel. The second one is Murphy's Diesel, which is awesome, really funny. The guy's a trip, and he does more heavy stuff. The third one is Casey Liddell. I think he's up in Oregon. Murphy's Diesel's in Arizona. Matt is in Hurricane, Utah. All 3 of these guys are amazing. They do really great recoveries. So I've learned a lot from these guys. That's what brought me to purchase what I did. I hook up the 30-foot, 3-inch strap to tow Kenny up to the end, and it's uphill, but it's not horrible. And this Sprinter vehicle probably weighs 2.5 times what Kenny's Element weighs. So I put it in 4-wheel drive, put it in low because I'm towing. It was easy as pie. We hooked this up and I towed him up to the finish, and I told Kenny, you've got one job. Don't run over the rope, or the strap, as it were. He did fine. It's uphill, so there's tension on the strap, obviously. And we got to the end, and I walk out, and sure enough, he's run over the strap at the end. And I said to him, Kenny, I told you had one job, don't run over the strap, and now you've run over the strap. And he's like, well, we're at the end, and I saw you were parking. I was kind of trying to roll up and try to park next to you. And I said, no, that's not how it works. It's just you never run over the strap. So that's another mistake. The good news is he ran over the strap, he just ran over it, and we were able to extract it. It was no problem. But the reason you don't want to run over the strap is twofold. Number one, if you run over it, there's potential for it to wrap around the axle and get all wound up, and you can end up in a horrible situation. I mean, it can be so bad you can't get it off and you have to cut it off, and that's horrible. And the other thing is, if you roll over it with your tire and then the towing vehicle then pulls it, then you're pulling it from underneath the tire. So obviously it just locks, and it can damage the strap, it can damage your recovery points, and potentially it can break something. And it's just a bad thing. You just don't want that to happen. So none of that happened with us. It was fine. But then we went out to the viewpoint, we checked it out, and it's like, now it's getting dark. It's because it's after sunset. So, and then unfortunately I noticed that at the top where we were supposed to camp, there's no camping up there. So that means we got to go back down the hill together. And it's downhill, but you can't really coast, because there's some places you can coast, and then there's sandy areas that are a little flat. So you really need to tow. So we hooked up the rope again, and I towed him downhill. And now we've got the walkie-talkies gone, so we wised up. I'm telling Kenny, you need to keep tension on the rope. It's important to keep tension on the rope, and the rope keeps slacking, and I keep telling him, okay, keep tension on the rope. We're having trouble working that out, and I finally tell him, look, maybe, engage the emergency brake, or just, work it so that you're keeping tension. So finally we get that going. That works out. We get down. I'm just going down. We got 4 miles to go, and we go about 3 miles. The area opens up, and there's some nice campsites, so we just pull over and we camp. And then the plan is to go down to Borrego Springs in Anza-Borrego and get a serpentine belt and just put a new belt on, and then we're good, right? wrong. In the morning, now that we've got light, we go in there with the flashlight and look under the hood and realize that the motor mounts have broken. And the reason the serpentine belt broke is because the mounts had broken and the engine was shaking around and caused it to break. So we found a couple of broken bolts on the mounts that were just sheared off. We're not going to be able to do anything. So what we decided to do is to call a tow truck. Fortunately, Kenny's got 200-mile towing and he lives 80 miles away. So this tow truck, this guy Willy, super cool dude, comes in a beautiful Freightliner rollback that was gorgeous truck, really nice guy. And he took Kenny and the dog Nalu back to San Diego, where he lives, San Marcos. Anyway, the point of this whole thing is to point out that the mistakes that we made, and to hope that you guys will not make the same mistakes as we did. As I watched Kenny roll down the road with the rollback with Willy, I realized that, everything was fine. And part of the reason that we pulled it off is because we actually had the proper recovery gear and we more or less used it correctly. Anyway, it's worthwhile having this stuff. So I encourage everyone, if you're an amateur like me, to just learn how to use this stuff, figure it out, and also maybe don't make the mistakes that we made, and you'll be fine. In essence, we were fine also. We pulled it off. We didn't do everything right, but we learned a lot. I think both Kenny and I learned quite a bit on this one, and maybe we made some mistakes that we won't make next time. So hope you enjoyed seeing the video. If you did, give it the old thumbs up, like, and subscribe. And until next time, appreciate you watching. Take care.